Patch 2 is finally here, and it's a massive one. There's a ton to talk about. Do the new vehicles make any sense? Can we finally secure vehicles when transporting them? The rain has been adjusted again? But that's not all. This update includes one subtle yet game-changing feature you should know about. So I loaded up the game and put it all to the test. Let's start off with the patch notes. I'm not going to go into each individual fix, there are just too many of them, but I will cover the most significant changes and I will link the patch notes in the description. So the rain is now reduced, again, across all regions apparently. During my gameplay I can say yes, it's definitely raining less. It still rains, which I like because it adds to the experience, but yeah, they reduced the frequency of the rain. Well, kind of. Moving on, we can now secure vehicles when transporting them, and it works, but there's even more. We have these different visual indicators showing that the vehicles are secure. Such a nice touch. Also, while loading them up, I noticed it's much easier thanks to increased friction on the deployment wrap. But that's not all. They even mentioned they've increased the power of the Zix 605E. That thing was definitely underpowered, so this is a welcome change. We now have photo mode. Activated with the F key on PC in the pause menu, you get everything you'd expect from a photo mode. I think it's a really great addition. But I did notice a problem. It looks like you are quite limited with how far you can move the camera. I mean, it's mostly okay, but if you're driving the Zix, for example, you won't be able to get the camera behind the vehicle. I'm sure this is something they will fix in the future. They've added quick marker placement, which is a great change, especially for PC players. Normally you'd have to navigate the map around to get the marker in the right spot. Now you can just use the mouse and the T key to place markers. We still can't plot routes like you could on SnowRunner, but this is a welcome change. We also got some new tech in-game. They've added Intel XeSS upscaling tech, they've added Steam input support, and also frame generation options for the 50 series cards. Now I know there were some complaints about players using gamepads. I did notice some fixes regarding the dead zone and inputs now registering properly. I really hope this helps you out. I don't use a gamepad, so I couldn't test this out. The Rage Quit Alt F4 feature has been fixed. Yeah, I've definitely used this before. Luckily I didn't run into the problem, but there were reports that if you were to Alt F4, there was a chance you could corrupt your save. Well, they seem to have fixed this, so you can now rage quit properly without risking your save. There's also a bunch of other fixes, so feel free to pause the screen at any point and have a look. We have tons of changes and fixes for the vehicles. We already went over the Zix 605E having more power and adjusted friction on the loading ramps. Here are a few more that stand out. But there's also something missing. All rollers now have a toggle to enable or disable asphalt rolling functionality. The L34 cargo blade now has sand flattening mode. I have never noticed this because I've never used that vehicle, but I'm sure it'll be a welcome change. Better vehicle shake effects from running engines. I do love this. I think it'll definitely add to the tactile feeling of operating heavy machinery. The Warden ATV mobile operations base now unlocks at level 15, previously it was level 20. The Arling Roadworks 750R asphalt roller now unlocks at level 13, previously it was level 19, and the Arling Roadworks 120 special asphalt paver now unlocks at level 13, previously it was level 14. So what's missing? Well, this thing continues to squirt out sand every time it drives over a piece of paper. Don't you just love this sound? Again, feel free to pause and see any of the other fixes. I really hope they do end up fixing that bloody thing. Now before we get into the new vehicles, we have a bunch of UI, roadworks, steering wheel and sound fixes. All great, all necessary. Until I noticed there is no mention of engine sound changes. Some of you might have noticed the engine sounds are really soft when zoomed out. This is especially noticeable with the Zix 605E. When testing this, it does appear to be louder, doesn't it? Maybe I missed a patch note. Actually, I think it might be this. Inconsistent sound effects behavior in Eagle mode resolved. Yeah, this appears to be it. Never mind, moving on. We also got some rendering Steam Deck mods and other fixes. Ones that are more noteworthy are the ultra quality shadow preset. They've also enhanced the sand textures in the dump beds, and the windshield raindrops visibility and quality has been improved. All good stuff here. I love it. Now, I know that you know what that game-changing feature is I've been craving. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the new vehicles and test them out. I'm also curious to know if they're even useful at this point, but let's take a look. If you are still watching at this point, consider a like and a sub. It'll help me bribe YouTube. First up, we have the Mule T1 SAR variant. SAR standing for Search and Recovery. It's got a winch length of 22 meters and a winch strength of 8 tons. Next up, we have the Nota Allegro or Algero. It's a beautiful little thing, winch length of 22 meters and a winch strength of 6 tons. Then we have the Step 39331 Pike SAR variant, winch length 22 meters and a winch strength of 7 tons. I'm seeing a bit of a problem here. Why would I go for anything other than the Mule T1? And then we have the TUZ 119 Lynx Scout Transporter. We'll speak more on this later. The models are all done really well. I mean, what else can you expect from a Saber game, right? The additions to the variants make a lot of sense visually, with all kinds of recovery gear and winches modeled. Saber has amazing attention to detail. Just take a look at my 20 details video if you want to see what I mean. I'll just flag it on top. The interiors look mostly the same regarding the Step, TUZ and the Mule. The Nota though is a new model. We only saw this as a AI variant. It looks actually pretty great. Great attention to detail, simple and believable interior, nothing really bad to say about the modeling. The sound is also okay. Okay, well, let's test this out. I actually do have a recovery to do. I flipped my Mule T1 before the update. Normally I just recover it, go back and grab all my cargo and drive on. But if you're carrying a ton of cargo or you don't have a built-on crane, that might not be the best option. So let's get the baby Nota out for a spin. It's a completely new vehicle, not just a variant change. So I want to test it out. Honestly, I'm not expecting much in terms of recovery. First impressions is actually pretty nippy, even off-road, but it did have some problems with the mud. Well, this is to be expected. I mean, look at these wheels, they're tiny. Interestingly, I reached my mule with no further problems. Handling was actually okay, and so I started trying to recover. I wasn't expecting much from the little Nota. I was actually taking it out to prove a point, that there's not really a use for it. And at first, I wasn't able to flip the T1. Until I did. I didn't even need to wedge myself behind the tree. It actually flipped it, which is surprising. The winch length is okay at 22 meters, some scouts have 24, but the advantage here is the winch strength. At 6 tons it's quite decent for such a tiny vehicle, but I feel like I would have been able to do this with the Stranic or the TUZ 303. I'll let you know what I think about this mechanic soon. I feel like there's a change that Saber can make that will make these vehicles more useful. We also got this, the TUZ 119 Lynx with a trailer. Classified as a scout transporter, and the model is done really well as expected. They've added an extra axle, which is great and always welcome. It still has dual axle steering. Well, actually I think it's tri-axle steering at this point, and I think it's actually quite useful. I was able to transport the roller no problem. It has the power and the traction. But don't forget, it also has a winch. I think this is a great addition, especially if you want to quickly transport a vehicle to a job site and if you're trying to save some fuel. And it can be used to transport cargo too. So that's the new vehicles. I'll let you know what I think after addressing this feature that made me really happy. And yes, as you probably guessed, it's the engine on-off feature. You can now hold handbrake and it will turn off the engines. Just listen to this. It's such a small change that it has a really big impact on immersion. Well, at least for me. No more annoying vehicles idling everywhere. I am really happy about this. Now, here are my thoughts on the search and recovery vehicles and mechanics. I'm still wondering what the actual use case is for these. Normally, if I'm transporting with the Mule T1 cargo crane, I can just recover, drive back, and then pick up whatever I dropped. But if I'm transporting lots of items or I don't have a built-in crane, I would probably use the Stranic to recover, and it always does a decent job. But you know what? It's nice to have more options. I'll definitely be testing out the little Nota to see how it handles recoveries. But after that, I'd probably rely on the Mule T1 SAR variant for most recoveries. That extra winch strength is hard to ignore. I can see some situations where the Nota's agility might be more useful, but I'll need more time with it to really figure it out. all of these new vehicles have increased winch strength, and that alone can be a game changer. I do think that the recovery vehicles should have been able to winch to 2 points at once, giving them a clear advantage. I'm not sure why they didn't do this, maybe people would have exploited it. I have no idea, but I do think these vehicles will shine the most when they introduce the hard mode option. As for the new TUZ 119 Lynx variant, I will definitely be using that. It is a useful and great addition. So what do you think about the update? I'm happy. I think they added some awesome changes, new features, welcome bug fixes, and a whole set of vehicles for us to figure out. Let me know what you think in the comments. And also let me know if I missed something, because I normally do. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.